HIM has truly been blessed with an incredible team of missionaries around the world. Asia is certainly no exception. And today, one of the things I'm excited about is for you to have the opportunity to meet some of our veteran missionaries from this region. Jean Schwartz has served the Lord for over 23 years along with Dorothy Shi, and together they have gone into the country of China and seen God do incredible things through their ministry. Hundreds of people have been saved and discipled as a result of their efforts. In China, we also have the Zhao family, who have been laboring there for a number of years. They are currently getting ready to return from the field in order to put their children in education, but will be involved in an ongoing manner in the work there in China and in the discipleship ministries that we have. In a country that many people have written off as too difficult to work in, God is indeed raising His church, and we are seeing a church that is alive and well and growing. We can trace back the success of the work in Asia in part to you who have given, who have prayed, who have so faithfully supported HIM and its work. And we want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your investment in building God's kingdom.
Hello, I'm Jean Schwartz. I work with Dorothy Shi. We've been working some 23 years in China. When we went to China, we witnessed the building of a nation. Out of the Communist Party came emptiness, came mistrust. And so they had a lot to build on emotionally and even socially. As I watched them through these 23 years, when I first went, their inner structure, there was very little. When I first came, their buildings looked just like Eastern Europe, a communist type of almost falling down building. They lived in one room and shared the bath and shared the kitchen with other families. This is how we found it when we came. So as they built the outer structure, we're trying to build the inner structure. We probably touched maybe 200 house churches or small groups. Sometimes they're little Bible schools. It's all kinds of, throughout China where we go, many different groups. We thank God that He's given us the privilege of doing this, the privilege of going in. Sometimes it's not easy. I remember one time we were going to a place, it was on the 4th floor, and the stairwell was outside. You could see it, you walked up outside. And so they didn't want me to be seen. There's lots of times they don't want me to be seen. And so what they did, they got a wheelchair, put me in the wheelchair, covered my head, and carried me up 4 stories. So sometimes we've had to face something like that. But our work has been to build the church for Jesus Christ in China. When we first went was with radio. That's why we went. We were broadcasting into China, and we thought to ourselves, you know, we need to know these people better. So we decided to start our first trip. As the years have gone by, God has given us many, many churches, many of them that depend on us. It's been a varying type of ministry to those that we have tried to build, those at first that needed to be saved. 20% of the Christians in that day were saved from the radio. And as you found them, and as you work with them, the groups got larger, and they would say, would you go over here? And then we would go there, and eventually some of them became very functional and very good house churches. We're working in HIM to have a program for the preachers to help them to be able to take a preacher's certificate. So this is the type of thing. We went from those that most of them weren't saved. And then little by little, as God has helped us, we've been able to disciple, we've been able to train, and now we want to develop the pastors. I see the future's bright for not China itself, but for those within China that loves the Lord. They may be persecuted, they were going to have a hard time, but I know that they're the ones who have something very deep in their lives. When I think of what I know about China and the Chinese, it's so wonderful how God can come into a place like China and give the people an experience that truly changes their heart. We are so blessed to have been able to see God develop a church almost like the New Testament church. And I want to say that if any of you has supported it, And all of you that's prayed for it, God has a wonderful reward for you someday. And may you continue to do the work of the Lord.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Xu. I work with HIM Chinese Outreach Ministries. The mission of HIM Chinese Outreach is to reach Chinese everywhere. Someone has said, wherever the sun is, there are Chinese. By means of literature, broadcasting, and the internet, God helps HIM Chinese Outreach spread the message of holiness worldwide. This is also helped through the pastoring of my husband Daniel Xu and the missionary Jenny Schwartz.
One of our bigger outreaches has been here in the United States. Years and years ago, probably 25 or 30 years ago, HIM came down here to Palm Beach and started a little church. And it began to grow. These last years, Dorothy and Daniel Xu has been pastoring this church. We have many now that have come here to the United States and found Jesus Christ here, some through Bible studies, some in college through Bible studies, but they have come and they're in this area of South Florida. And so it's been a very profitable work. We have a new church starting in Jupiter, and we have a preaching point in Boca Raton. We have a ministry at the university for the students. In 2 universities around, we have a ministry, and some of those young people have come and have found the Lord.
At the Palm Beach Chinese Christian Chapel, started by HIM, former missionaries to Taiwan, such as Dr. and Mrs. Fred Wingham and Dr. Meg Wen, continue to labor among the Chinese. 23 years ago, God led us to mainland China, where we found a giant population longing for the gospel. We have been privileged to be part of the training and the development of ministries in more than a dozen Chinese cities in the past 2 decades. God's work and the countless miracles are clearly seen when we look back. Before we entered China, He promised, "Behold, I have set before you an open door, which no one is able to shut." We greatly praise His faithfulness and might, and I believe He will prepare even greater ministry for us in the future.
God has really opened some unique opportunities for us in China. Years ago, we would have never dreamed when Sister Xi and Sister Schwartz went into China of where we would be today. Today, we're working with 200 plus secret churches, house churches, unregistered churches. We're working to help train their young people and the new believers that have just recently been saved. You may not know this, but they tell us that over 10,000 people are converting to Christianity every day in China. Many of these churches are pastored by young people who've only had 2 weeks or less Bible training. How would you like to pastor a church with little or no training? What a great responsibility and frustration that would be. So we must answer this call and this challenge. We must step through this door of opportunity. In fact, this is the exact reason HIM Asia exists. We are there to help train, develop vibrant Christians who are strong in their faith. We want to do this through purposeful discipleship, through counseling and training their leaders and developing them in their skills to understand and rightly divide the word of truth. So we're partnering right alongside some of the most courageous Christians I've ever met as we go into China. my privilege to recently preach in a secret church. We slipped in through the basement, through a tin door, and it looked like it was empty. In fact, there was a little trash scattered around, and we went to the back and climbed a set of stairs, and up on the second floor was all these beautiful chairs arranged, and a little platform and PA system. And I was a little reluctant to use the PA system, but they told me it was all right. They'd tested it and you couldn't hear it out in the street. We had a wonderful time as over 100+ people crowded into that little second-story room, and we sang and worshiped and cried together and rejoiced together in God's goodness. And I was able to share a simple message, and the response was overwhelming, and I was overwhelmed, and Christina was, and we were moved to tears as we witnessed this for ourselves for the first time. How God is establishing His church in a nation that has been so resistant to the gospel. How those strongholds are breaking through people of determined faith and commitment to serve the living God. Since 1973, HIM has been in Asia. From the beginning, we focused on church planting. God has helped us to see 3 churches established here, 1 in the north and 2 in the south of Taiwan. These 3 churches are self-supporting, self-governing, and are strong churches today. They are coming together in ways that we never imagined, and as they come together, they're uniting their resources, their abilities, their talents. People here in Taiwan are in these churches, and they're focusing on starting other Bible study groups. And as we start these Bible study groups up and down the coast and other cities, we foresee in the future that these also will become churches. The greatest challenges that the churches face here in Taiwan is the old entrenched religions have such a grip on the hearts of the people. You will see the evidence of these entrenched religions as you travel throughout Taiwan. In fact, in the capital city of Taipei, they say there's a temple on every block. In fact, right here where we live, just a stone's throw away, just across the main highway, is a lake, and that lake is surrounded by temples. They tell us that people come from mainland China on a regular basis to come worship at these temples. So right here under the shadow of Buddha and other gods, we have a church. And by God's grace and help, we want to plant more churches. I remember one lady just recently told me that she lives in a village, a pretty large town in fact, and she lives in her brother's 4-story house, and she said there's not a church, there's only a temple. We want to see that change.